Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about the most important Dungeons & Dragons component that's ever been printed, in my humble opinion, and that is the Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth set, okay? Now, why is that a Dungeons & Dragons component? So first of all, it can literally be used as a Dungeons & Dragons component because Magic the Gathering cards have been used as Dungeons & Dragons component for years, right? Specifically Strixhaven, Theros, and Ravnica. We've been using them as non-player characters. We've been using the lands to actually indicate how far your character has walked. We literally use Long Rest from the Adventurer's Guide. We literally hand out the Long Rest card to players. We've been using Dungeons & Dragons. We've been using Magic the Gathering cards as specifically as we've been using Magic the Gathering cards as Dungeons & Dragons components for years. That's old hat. It's been happening for a very long time, right? Now, Dungeons & Dragons, the actual Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, Tales of the Tales of Middle-earth set is called a Universe Beyond, which is a little troll tag that is used to, in my humble opinion, to troll the suits at Hasbro to make them think that this will not be canon to Dungeons & Dragons at some point, which it almost certainly will be, right? And why do I believe that the Dungeons & Dragons lore, and that's, so let me get, yeah, sorry. I get so excited and I don't give you the point of the video right away. Let me give you the point of the video right now. Cassius Marsh, a 8-year National Football League veteran player, right? He's a veteran of the NFL in that he's out of the NFL now, right? Veteran player has just put a bounty of $500,000 for the one ring, right? And I am saying that what he's actually buying is he's buying the greatest Dungeons & Dragons collectible possible, right? And the reason why is right now the One Ring is simply a magic card, right? But it's a magic card that should easily be the most valuable magic card that's ever been printed, right? And the reason why is right now the most valuable magic card that's ever been printed is Black Lotus, right? Post Malone bought one for $800,000, right? Well, there were thousands of Black Lotuses printed, thousands of them, right? That was 30 years ago. People didn't know what they were. Half of them went in the garbage. Half of them got thrown out by moms and dads who threw their kids' crap out when they didn't take it when they left, and then half of them have been resold and collected up, right? And they are worth a fortune. They are worth a lot of money, right? So to be clear, they are out there, and and they're worth a lot of money. But there's literally, at this point, there's easily hundreds of them in good condition, or over 1,000 of them in good condition still left, and there's just going to be one ring, right? So it's going to easily surpass value on the Black Lotus, right? But here's the issue, right? The Black Lotus does not have a Dungeons & Dragons. The Black Lotus does not have as direct a Dungeons & Dragons connection as the One Ring will have, right? Literally, Dungeons & Dragons got in trouble for trying to copy Lord of the Rings, and there was legal action between Dungeons & Dragons, from the Tolkien estate to Dungeons & Dragons. That already happened, right? So Dungeons & Dragons has Lord of the Rings literally in its vein. I mean, it's literally in its veins, right? So you have that. Then in addition to that, right, you have this situation where, so you have that there, right? Then, what else happens next, right? It's a good question. Oh, right. So, and then the other issue is we now know, like when Black Lotus was printed, we didn't know the drumbeat of Magic Gathering than official D&D. It happened with Dominaria, it happened with Kaladesh, it happened with Innistrad, it happened with Ravnica, it happened with Theros, it happened with Strixhaven, goes to Magic Gathering, shows up in D&D as official D&D canon, right? And the other thing is, why does that matter now? It matters now because we just had a $200 million film, right, And 200 million is not great for an American blockbuster, but it is staggeringly, shockingly better than any other tabletop role-playing game that's ever achieved, right? So Dungeons & Dragons has set the mark for, and said, hey, it can be a global film. Like, we can get global attention. And Lord of the Rings needs that again, right? And Lord of the Rings has lost a ton of goodwill because of their Amazon show, right? But if they can get goodwill and street cred from Dungeons & Dragons, right? So this is all about the Tolkien estate. This is all about Dungeons & Dragons. And the One Ring is not a Magic the Gathering collectible at all, in my humble opinion. All it is the greatest part of Dungeons & Dragons history, inception, right? Like, you can buy it at the before price, right? I think the the Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, Tales of the Middle-earth set make it inevitable that there will be a Dungeons & Dragons canon hardback for Lord of the Rings. When that happens, it's going to be huge. And get this, nothing has made it so that Hasbro is willing to simplify the Dungeons & Dragons rules. When they have literally hundreds of millions, when they have hundreds of millions of fans, right, they're going to be willing to change the Dungeons & Dragons rules to a simple rule set and completely change the game. A combination between bringing Loader into canon in Dungeons & Dragons is everything that's actually needed commercially and by canon and by creativity and by every single needed thing from the Tolkien estate and from Dungeons & Dragons. Lord of the Rings can get utility and street cred that it could never get on its own through Dungeons & Dragons. Dungeons & Dragons can break in half, can crack the wall of complexity that it is stuck using right now, because they can say, oh, well, it's cute having you 10 to 15 million D&D fans now, but you can all go kick rocks because we can pick up 300 million players tomorrow off of the Loader base, right? Literally a factor. We can 10x. We can, and I'm not sure if you know this, but like 10x it's a whole thing in finance, right? So and this could fundamentally change Dungeons & Dragons. So this one card, Black Lotus, that's cute. It's a magic card, right? Lord of the Rings One Ring, the One Ring card, right, is a Dungeons & Dragons Willy Wonka ticket, right? It allows you to buy the greatest Dungeons & Dragons collectible before it's canon, right? And then it will come in canon later, and it will explode in value. Here's the thing. Whoever gets this, you should not sell it. And the reason why is I keep saying Dungeons & Dragons can transform lives. If you get this card, you will have the rarest collectible in the world, in my humble opinion, right? It's modern, it's cool, it mixes intellectual properties. This is the collectible. This is the collectible, right? Like the Queen's Jewels, who cares? This is a modern, exciting collectible, and it's all about Dungeons & Dragons, in my humble opinion. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.